Lots of people want to know about the re-grand opening of Notre Dame. So that is the way you say it. Let's start with the basics. Notre Dame. I'm not going to say it that way every time I say it during this show because that might get a little obnoxious. Please don't say Notre Dame. When you're visiting Paris, Notre Dame, do your best. Notre Dame, Our Lady, of course, the infamous, iconic Parisian cathedral. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Paris with Angela, the podcast for Paris lovers and trip planners. It's been a few weeks. I'm back. Summer is just about over, and in our house, we're ramping up for fall, getting ready to start our school season, getting ready to close down the garden. And of course, I have another trip to Paris in just about 4 weeks. So if you're brand new to this podcast, my name is Angela. I've been on social media for the last almost 20 years as Parisian farm girl, Parisienne farm girl. You can follow the blog. You can follow that YouTube channel. Twice a year, I lead tours in Paris, and I help people plan their trips to Paris as well. I'm really excited about this trip. In 4 weeks, I have many YouTube viewers coming with me. And if you're brand new, let me just unpack a little bit what we do. Because of my Parisian Farm Girl platform, a lot of what I share is French-inspired living. We're turning our home into a very French farmhouse style home full of a lot of antiques. So my trips currently are flea market focused. In 2025, we've added an extra day to the trip, and we will be experiencing a private cooking class at a cooking school, a wine cave tour, wine tasting. And of course, we always visit 3 flea markets throughout the week because I love to help my guests barter and find those special treasures to take home with them. We visit Giverny, we do little side trips to Versailles and other places, and we have an excellent time. Those trips for 2025 are half sold out. So I take 8 people for 2 weeks in a row. So there are 3 spots left on the cooking copper and cuvee trip. And that's one that will be an extra day where we will do that cooking class and the wine cave tour, etc. And there are 5 spots left for the regular flea market trip. So I would love for you to visit ParisianFarmGirl.com/Paris with Angela and check those trips out if you'd like to grab a girlfriend or a sister and join us. We're going to have a great time. And it's pretty excited that they're almost sold out. We will probably do another trip in October, but that one won't get planned until the April one sells out. So there's 8 spots left in total. I would love to meet you and have you join me. Now, when we're in Paris, we are going to be, of course, enjoying beautiful wines. And one of the sponsors of this podcast is Dry Farm Wines. You can experience Dry Farm Wines today. Biodynamic wines are becoming really popular around Paris. There's a few biodynamic wine bars that have popped up. Dry Farm Wines is an organic and biodynamic wine importer that brings you wine from small family farms and chateaux all across France. There's no added sugar, no GMO yeast, no food coloring. Beautiful wines made in the old-fashioned way. You can try Dry Farm Wines, and when you're a first-time customer, you're going to get an extra bottle for a penny. So you can subscribe and have them shipped to your home every month, or just place a one-time order, get that bottle for a penny. They can't say it's a free bottle because they're not allowed to do that. They charge you a penny for the bottle. Check out dryfarmwines.com/Paris with Angela. I thank you for doing that. They're a major sponsor of the Paris with Angela podcast. Today, I'm going to answer some questions that I have been receiving, mostly via DMs over on Instagram, where you can follow at Parisian Farm Girl. Lots of people want to know about the re-grand opening of Notre Dame. So that is the way you say it. Let's start with the basics. Notre Dame. I'm not going to say it that way every time I say it during this show because that might get a little obnoxious. Please don't say Notre Dame. When you're visiting Paris, Notre Dame, do your best. Notre Dame, Our Lady, of course, the infamous, iconic Parisian cathedral. This cathedral is a symbol of Paris, French culture, and global history. It has a huge significance as a religious landmark, and it has stood the test of time, even with its tragedies, for over the last 850 years. If you were like me and you tuned in to watch the catastrophic fire in 2019, you grieved with many people in the world. I remember standing there watching the flames engulf this beautiful cathedral and just saying to the screen, do something, do something. It just felt like nothing was happening, and I sure didn't want to see it crumble. There's so many emotions attached to that day. If you'd like to know more about that day and this beautiful cathedral, then I'd love to make a book recommendation for you. There's a book by Ken Follett called Notre Dame, A Short History of the Meaning of Cathedrals. It is an excellent resource, especially if you are preparing a trip to Paris in December of 2024 for the grand reopening. Notre Dame's construction began in 1163 under the reign of King Louis VII and was completed in 1345. It took 200 years to build, and it became one of the finest examples of French Gothic architecture. We are all probably familiar with those iconic architectural pieces and features like flying buttresses, the ribbed vaults, and the 3 stunning rose windows, which were technological masterpieces at the time. Not only were these elements beautiful and magnificent, but they are a key part of the structural integrity and ethereal beauty of the cathedral. We know it's been said the cathedral houses famous relics, like an original piece of the crown of thorns and the true cross, and it has drawn pilgrims there for that reason for centuries. Notre Dame has been the stage for many historical events over the years, many, of course, including the coronation of Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte in 1804, the beatification of Joan of Arc in 1909, and, of course, when its bells tolled in the celebration of the liberation of Paris in 1944 at the close of World War II. The cathedral's near destruction during the French Revolution sparked Victor Hugo's novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it helped spark a renewal in the interest in preserving the cathedral. So this idea of preserving this amazing site is not new. It dates clear back to Victor Hugo, and he really launched this effort to save this beautiful, beautiful church and monument, and that led to significant restoration in the 19th century. Notre Dame has had a huge cultural impact in art, literature, as I just referenced, and popular culture. You've seen it in movies, you've seen it in book covers, you've seen it in Disney cartoons. This iconic building has captured the imagination of artists and writers worldwide. Notre Dame plays a critical role as a cultural ambassador of Paris to millions of visitors each year. Even with it being closed, everyone's still gathered around it to see what's going on, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We all remember that day, April 15th, 2019, while the world watched in horror as Notre Dame was engulfed in flames. The fire spread rapidly, which led to the collapse of the 19th century spire and the destruction of much of the cathedral's roof. The cause of the fire is still under investigation, with possible links to electrical short circuits or human error. There was an outpouring of grief and solidarity at that time from the world. As the world looked on and watched what was happening, it became even more obvious that this beautiful church has a deep spiritual, cultural, and emotional significance for people worldwide. There was a heroic effort by firefighters who managed to save the main structure, miraculously including the 2 twin towers and the rose window from complete destruction. The importance of preserving many of the relics and artworks housed in the cathedral cannot be underestimated. There is such an importance on preserving those relics and artwork for France. This is Notre Dame, Our Lady. There was a dramatic rescue of the crown of thorns and other religious artifacts by emergency responders. really, really just incredible. And the response to what happened was global. It was worldwide, from fundraising campaigns to international experts offering help in the restoration efforts. And if you choose to read that book by Ken Follett, you will see that he was immediately reached out to because of his knowledge of how the cathedrals were built at that time. And he really, really gives you some great insight into the structure and what was actually happening inside. It's really, really an excellent book. I would definitely add that to your list as you're planning your trip to Paris. There were multiple donations coming in over the last many years from French billionaires and other significant contributors. One of the reasons we all get to celebrate this December when it reopens. Of course, undertaking the restoration of this monument was a huge, huge effort. There was a comprehensive restoration that began immediately after the fire to focus on stabilizing the structure and preventing further damage. There were many unique challenges that the restoration teams faced, including replicating medieval construction techniques while incorporating modern technology. For example, detailed work went into recreating the spire, which was originally designed by Eugène Viollet-le-Duc in the 19th century. International collaborations between architects, artists, historians have taken place in an effort to bring Notre Dame back to its grandeur. They've sourced materials such as the oak for the roof beams, for example, and that led to the spire, and they were sourced to ensure historical accuracy. So much detailed work has gone in to bringing Our Lady back to being a site that we can all visit and worship in and enjoy. Modern technology has played a crucial role in this restoration. 3D scans of the cathedral taken years before the fire have provided invaluable blueprints for the reconstruction. And we have, of course, things that we didn't have. The use of drones and the advances in scaffolding systems that have allowed workers to safely navigate this detailed construction. So these technological advances, these advantages that we have today, as opposed to hundreds of years ago, have really allowed to speed up the process in the restoration project. Now, like me, if you are visiting Paris this year before the cathedral opens, you can still find your own ways to enjoy it. For the best views of Notre Dame, you can visit the Pont de l'Archevêché or the Square Jean the 12th. And I will link and list these names in the show notes so you can easily access them and look them up on your maps of Paris. Type them into your Maps app. When you're there, it'll take you right there. I would also suggest visiting the Île de la Cité, which is a small island on which Notre Dame sits. You can soak in the atmosphere. It's a very, very pleasant atmosphere over in that area. Have dinner at the Saint-Régy, which is right nearby. That's one of my favorite restaurants, and enjoy the beautiful Seine views. I would also recommend that you enjoy a virtual reality tour of Notre Dame, which is available for you before the tour opens. You can marvel at the fascinating cathedral from a unique perspective. You can witness an innovative virtual reality show right in the heart of Paris. Discover the centuries-old history, even more of what we're covering today, of this world-famous landmark. And it's absolutely mesmerizing, the realistic 3D recreation of the original building. And it really allows you to take advantage of experiencing it if you can experience it. Not all of us are going to go next year in 2025, and not all of us are going to make it there in December for the grand reopening. I know many of you have trips planned for the fall. Fall's an ideal time to visit Paris, and it is disappointing that it won't be done, but there are definitely ways that you can experience the cathedral and still enjoy its beauty. I will put links in this video description and in the show notes of how to get tickets to that virtual reality experience. You can also enjoy the cathedral by visiting nearby museums such as the Crypte Archéologique de Île de la Cité, which features exhibitions on Notre Dame's history and the ongoing restoration projects. And there may be public events or gatherings held near the cathedral when you're visiting, such as open-air masses or cultural performances that allow you to connect with Notre Dame, even while it's under construction. During the restoration process, masses for